Touchdown, Chargers! And we welcome you to Chargers Weekly again with Jahleel Addae, Hitman. We are getting ready, coming off a bye week, Jahleel, to take on a Broncos team that has caught a little bit of heat here as of late. They've won 3 in a row. Their defense is dominating. Bo Nix just had his best game of his early 5-game career. And we know, and I'll start with this, you can speak to it. Chargers have struggled in Denver. They struggle with the Broncos. It's one of those teams that when you look in the annals, pretty much they always split. It's typically always a 1-1, and right now the Broncos riding a 3-game win streak over this team. So let's just start there. What is it like to play at Mile High and to play against that Denver team, and why has it seemed like no matter how good you are, how bad they are, how good they are, how bad you are, and by you I mean the Chargers and the Broncos, these teams always split. It's wild.
I mean, it's a division game, Money. When you look at division games, anything can happen. That's number one, right? Number two, that altitude playing in that game in the Denver Stadium in Mile High, it's legit. Like you have to train for it. If you don't train for it, you don't have a chance going in there. And it takes you almost 2 to 3 quarters before you actually catch your wind and you're able to just play ball and not worrying about breathing. And it's stifling. Like your chest feels like it's cramping. It feels like it's suffocated. So I remember going out there in pregame, like we would play there, and I would say, you know what, I have to get out there in pregame at least 30 minutes and just get my lungs open to it because they're used to it. And it's a competitive advantage, right? So it's like the Buffalo Bills. You play in Buffalo in December, they're used to that weather, and the Chargers wouldn't be. So it's almost the same thing. It's just that altitude is tough. And then 3, when you look at it, it's no matter what, even though they're a rival, it's a prestige organization. They do a good job. Their stadium's beautiful. Their fans, they come out and they support, and it's just a tough place to play. I would like to say it's one of the tougher places to play.
Yeah, as I've been calling this my ninth year calling games, and there's a couple things at a few of the stadiums that stick with you. Obviously, Raiders. You hear the Raiders. I hate that thing. The Chiefs. You got the no.
That's the worst one.
And see, to me, I don't know why, but the incomplete on third downs in Denver is the one that really just kind of sticks.
It's demoralizing.
Yeah, it is. It's demoralizing. The punt's coming out. And by the way, for those of you that watch on TV or listen on the radio, if you didn't know, because it's kind of hard if you're not there to know what they're saying, that's what it is. They scream incomplete on 3rd and longs when the pass is busted up and they have to punt. But you're right. It's a great atmosphere. I know some people, for whatever reason, they can't get over it, and their emotions won't allow them to pay any respect to any of the divisional opponents. But,
of course,
you tip their cap. It's fun to be there, man. It's a fun environment. It's a competitive environment. And I repeatedly say this. Players want juice, man, and there's a lot of juice in that stadium. And I think that's why you've seen in years past, sometimes it'll be road splits where each team wins the road game. For Herbert, it's been a bit of a struggle. You look at his QB ratings against division opponents. This is his lowest QB rating against any team. I think it's in the 86 range, kind of like right in there. He's 3-3, technically 3-4, but he left that game early last year. That's when he got hurt and did not return. So for whatever reason, and I think a lot of that was Vic Fangio. A handful of those games were those Vic Fangio games that really frustrated him, but he's walking into a buzzsaw, and you know what? So are the Broncos. It's funny. You think about Justin Herbert and Jim Harbaugh, and you think about Sean Payton and the offensive genius that he's supposed to be, and then you look down and you're like, oh, this is the number 1 versus the number 2 defense in the NFL right now, and I would suspect that those things are going to hold.
Yeah, it's going to be a defensive battle, and you talk about defense. One thing that the Chargers, as we all know, going into this game, the one guy you might not want to throw to is Pat Surtain the second, right? Right now, he's probably one of the best, if not the best cornerback in the league. Obviously, this is the NFL. You shy away from nobody, right? We respect all, but we fear none. But he's playing at a level where, hey, if we're going to target some guys, it probably shouldn't be to his side. And then on the other hand, you look at the Chargers defense, they've played miraculous all year long. Right. And I don't think it'll be any different. Speaking on what you said, going into enemy's territory as a professional athlete, as a competitor, you love that. You love going in there and silencing 60,000 people, breaking up a pass, scoring touchdowns. And you just look in the corner and you see your Chargers fans going crazy. And, the Broncos fans they're mad, they're cursing, they're calling you names when you come off the field. So listen, that atmosphere is going to be big, especially coming off a bye. I'm pretty sure that the Chargers coaching staff and the players have done a lot of due diligence as far as looking at their opponents the last 4 games. So I think they'll be coming out striking with fire.
Yeah, I'll tell you, you think about where this Bronco team was in the offseason and moving on from Russell Wilson and taking on all that dead money, tens of millions of dollars of dead money that was going to impact their cap. And now they've got to move Jerry Jeudy. And everyone's talking about, oh, they should trade Pat Surtain. That's, let's recoup some of those draft picks and get a couple ones. And now you see why you don't do that, how important corners are in the NFL. And Surtain against the Chargers in his career, 2 interceptions, a pick 6 is one of them. He's got 70 return yards on those 2 interceptions. And now he's paired with Riley Moss. And these are, I think it's either one of 4 or it's one of 4 cornerback tandems that both are negative yards EPA on passes. So that is so Riley Moss now in just his second season, a second or third round pick, I think he was in 23. When you have someone like Surtain on your team, it's that residual effect. Now you've got 100%. Arguably the best corner in the NFL that's bringing this young player along. And now you're looking at one of the most impressive corner tandems, if not the most impressive corner tandems in the league. Riley got his first interception last week. He's got a forced fumble. Yeah, go ahead. Play. So, I mean, just kind of pick up on that secondary and what Herbert's facing.
Yeah, so he's facing 2-headed monsters out there on the island with Moss and with Surtain. But if you're going to pick your poison, I got to go to the guy who's less proven, right? You're going to have to attack Moss. He's going to have to show you that he is that number 2. He is the young up and coming superstar or star cornerback, so to say, that they're talking about. And rightfully so. I mean, they're playing really good defense. And to your point is, I remember when I played with Derwin James in 2018, obviously he was a rookie, but he came in Pro Bowl, all pro type of player. And I'm looking across from him and I'm saying, hey, you know what? I'm in year 6. This young stud's coming in who I love. He's balling. Listen, I got to go out there and put my A game up as well, right? You don't want to be the only guy out there not pulling your weight. It's like doing a group project, right? And you get an A and you did no work, right? So you don't want to be out there on the defense and everyone else is balling. They're putting up numbers. They're making plays on Sundays. And you're just quiet as a cricket. So I think that's what Moss is seeing in Surtain. He's seeing, hey, you know what? This guy's playing at a top level. If I ever want to aspire to be that, I have to continue to come out here and compete and hold my side down. But Herbert has to know that. I think they try to attack in the air a little bit more, just with all the buzz and Herbert's numbers and him not being able to be unleashed right now. But I think all in all, the running game is going to have to do it. You're going on the road. You got to pack your special teams. You got to pack your defense, and you got to pack your running game. Right. And to take that crowd out of it early, I think the running game has to be very, very positive. Right. We have to be positive yards, 4 to 5 yards in a cloud of dust, be patient. And when those shots do present themselves, right, with game plan, with schemes, what offensive coordinators are seeing and vice versa, then I think that's when you start letting the ball rip a little bit. But you're going to have to rely on the run game.
Yeah, and look, I think when we talk about Herbert, and we've brought this up, I don't think it can be overstated. Like, man, they need DJ Chark. They need that guy on the field. And I don't know if he's going to be out there. I don't think he's going to be out there yet, as he's still working his way through an injury. But to have, that legitimate 6 foot plus, 200-pound plus, 4-3 guy that can get off a press and can stretch the field and can at least threaten to beat his man within the first couple seconds and be that downfield threat. Everything I was watching, I went back and watched both games, and everything is just so packed in, man. It is so packed. And I think, and the thing, Jahleel, I think people just think about that in terms of the running game. And that obviously it's a big deal because there's repeatedly 8 guys in the box. I was watching the Pittsburgh game. There's times where it's 9 guys in the box, 5, 6 plays. There's 9. I mean, they sound like first down. And I think that's affecting a lot of those short and intermediate routes that now you just have so much traffic out there. And so I'm guessing over the last 2 weeks, that's something that they're trying to figure out. How can we get this? Like, I'm looking at Ladd's numbers, and I wonder if you just start putting Ladd on the outside, man. Yeah. Right? It's like he's a 4-3 guy. He's top 10 in top speed. I think he's got a top speed right now on that one crosser. He hit over 21 miles an hour. I almost feel like, man, just stack him up outside on occasion. Let's see if he can get down there.
And Money, I alluded to that last week when I said, listen, Ladd has so much quickness that people forget about his top end speed. And so I wouldn't right now, listen, it's not working, right? We don't have a deep threat on the offensive side. And why not put him out there and see what he can do on the outside, right? It can't hurt. And another thing is when you look at them packing the box, right? There's 8 guys in the box, and defenses always want to protect the middle of the field, right? They call it lane 1 and lane 9 on the outside. Those are the less, right? The lower percentage throws, right? And that's what you want to force. So they're packing the box. Not only are they packing the box to stop the run, they're packing the box because once it's a run and there's zone dropping, they're making sure that their drops, they're 4 under 3 deep, they're cover 4, whatever it is, their inside droppers are taking away that middle of the field, and then they're forcing you to throw on lane 1 and lane 9. Right, so the Chargers have to say, "Hey, you're forcing us to do it, but that's what you're giving. We have to take what you're giving us, and you're giving us the railroad shots down the field." But once again, who's out there? Moss and Surtain. So you're gonna have to figure out a way. I don't know, early on, getting some jet sweeps, getting some screens going, right? Getting off kill, not running on first down, not running on second down, throwing the ball to lighten up the box, and then you throwing a draw play in there, and now that's 7-8 yards, and now you have a manageable 2nd and 2, right? So you want to stay above. You want to stay above the sticks, not behind. So they have to. It's a mind game. It's chess, and they got to figure out a way to combat whatever Denver tries to do to them on Sunday.
Hey, you talk about first down, and the Broncos. They blitz at the highest rate in the NFL overall, 45%, but they blitz 54% of the time on first down. Yeah. So that's, and look, you can tailor your game plan for each opponent. We know that's what they do. So is that what they're going to do against the Chargers? Don't know, but that's been their trend through 5 games thus far. And the flip side of that is Chargers have struggled with the blitz, man. They have struggled to identify and pick up. It is let's see, what is it? 48.4% pressure rate on blitz. 7th worst. And half the time you're getting pressure when you're coming with a blitz. So and when you go back and watch, it's just, again, I think it's the growth of this offensive line. It's the growth of Scott Matlock as a fullback and trying to get that pass protection right. Man, there were so many instances in that Kansas City game where you're just watching McDuffie come and you're just like, it's just everywhere, unabated. And it was just, and you can see it's got to be, it has to be a communication issue. I don't know what else it could be where you're letting 100%. These free rushers come in and blow up these plays and you're behind the sticks and off schedule. And man, when you do it against a Broncos defense, this is the matchup. I mentioned scoring, right? Number 1 versus number 2. Overall, Broncos 3rd overall defense, Chargers 5th overall. Chargers 6th against the run, Broncos 10th. Chargers 10th against the pass, the Broncos 5th. 2nd and 3rd in red zone. 8 takeaways, 7 takeaways. Like, these are the dominant defenses in the NFL. And I bring it up because it's probably going to be that kind of game, right? It's probably going to be a special teams turnover kind of game.
Special teams turnover and defensive game. But when you were speaking about the blitz on first down, that's just basically them being an aggressive defense. And they're trying to play bully ball, right? They're trying to play bully ball. And we all know the best way to defeat a bully is you punch them back. And the best way you combat or you slow a blitz down is, like I said, quick game, screens, and you run the ball at the blitz, right? Because a lot of times you run the ball at the blitz and there's a lot of schemes and there's a lot of pulls. Those guys are just blitzing. When you're on defense, they're saying blitz the A gap, blitz the B gap, blitz the C gap, or go up and under. And that's when they're just pass dropping. But once those guards start pulling, once those tackles start pulling, once they start running gap schemes, now your blitz lanes are off. And that's how you defeat the blitz. You have to run into it. Like, you have to run straight at the blitz.
Like between the tackles, are you attacking the edges? Does it matter?
It really doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. But you have to run at it, right? You have to run at the blitz. And that's how you beat it. Other than that, screens and quick games. And then you'll force them to be like, you know what? Hey, we can't be so aggressive on first and second down. This is what they're doing, X, Y, and Z. And then now, as the offense, you're like, okay, now that they've slowed down their blitz, now we can get back to our game plan, knowing that on third down, most likely the blitz is coming because it's an obvious pass down. There's going to be pass drops. There's going to be open lanes, A, B, C's, and then it'll be a more clear path for them to get their blitz home. Right. So, obviously I'm not the offensive coordinator, but I played a long time. And I know that's how when we blitzed a lot on whatever organization I played at, that's where we got hurt at.
Yeah. The thing with, and look, there's a flip side to this, right?
Right.
I mentioned Chargers defense is good, and Bo Nix is a rookie, and Bo's got 4 touchdowns, or maybe 3 or 4, and 5 interceptions. He's run the ball very well. The Chargers have been the best team against running quarterbacks so far this year, averaging them at 1.8 yards anytime they've tried to run. So, that's why I'm kind of bringing it up is I don't think we can overstate how good Jesse Minter has been through 4 games. When you think about what this defense was, what he inherited, the pieces that they've dropped in, 1-year prove-it deals for Christian Fulton, for Poona Ford, for Denzel Perriman, like some of the and look what they're doing. I mean, this is, like I said, the number 1 scoring defense, and they just played the Chiefs. It's the number, like I said, 5 overall, number 2 in the red zone. Okay, you let them down there, bend don't break. Now you're only allowing, I think it's a 33% touchdown rate in the red zone. Like, it's got all the signals of an elite unit, and the offense is not playing well yet.
That's what's frustrating, Money, right? So for the last few years, it's been explosive.
Right.
Like the offense is putting points up on the board. They're lighting it up. It's entertaining. And then, here we go. The defense is letting us down.
Exactly.
Right. So now the defense has come, and we still have the same quarterback, the same superstar quarterback, in my opinion, who's a top 5 quarterback if he's playing on top of his game and he's used right. And we're seeing them struggle. So it's almost like, okay, now we have a defense, and we think that now we're going to have a full team, offense, defense. Don't forget about Ryan Frickin on the special teams side. He's a phenomenal coordinator.
No doubt.
Right. So special teams is humming, defense is humming. And then we have Herbert at the helm, and we're like, there's no way they won't be humming, right? With Harbaugh and Giro coming in, and they're just struggling. So it's frustrating, right? Because now we're like, this is finally the year. All 3 phases are going to be cooking with gas on fire, and we just have not seen that yet from the offense.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, I think, and look, it's something that Charger fans, and I'm pulling it up right now because I think it bears going through name by name, and you know what the history is of this organization, and here's kind of where we're at. I mentioned DJ Chark does not expect his 21-day practice window to be opened, so there's that. Henley, questionable. Perriman, questionable. Asante, questionable. Hurst, questionable. Dicker, questionable. Bosa, questionable. Gus Edwards, questionable. Fulton, questionable. Colson, questionable. Alt, questionable. Dean Leonard, Justin Herbert, Ja Taylor, all on the injury report. They are dealing with an incredible amount of injuries. Now, there's good news, and unfortunately, I need to go to I need to get my official injury report pulled up because that'll tell you limited, because I want to make sure I go through this. And so here we go. Alt limited, junior limited. The guys that didn't practice are Dicker, who's apparently just sick. Mm-hmm. Joey, still with that hip, did not practice. Gus has got an ankle now. He wasn't at practice. Fulton's got a knee. He didn't practice. Derwin's was personal. Dean Leonard still dealing with that hammy. Ja Taylor still dealing with the fibula. And those are your gunners. Yeah. You talk about Ficken, his 2 gunners are down. That's Nick Neiman, who's their best special teams player. Yeah, that's what's also been great about Ficken. You cannot overstate what he's been able to do. Both of his gunners down, and his best special teams player, and Nick Neiman, has not been around all season long. Junior Colson had kind of taken Nick's place.
Very true.
So I think it's important to kind of acknowledge and huzzah to Ryan Ficken for what he's done, because you can speak to this. You lose both gunners, your best special teams players, Chris Rumpf, Nick Neiman, now Junior Colson. I can't imagine that's easy just to drop guys in.
Yeah, there's not much there. And especially, a lot of people overlook special teams, but special teams is like another offense or defensive play. There's a lot of scheme to it. There's a lot of scouting to it, right? There's a lot of planning on what's going to happen based on, a guy's tilt, where a punter's lined up, where he's punting. So it's a lot of stuff. You don't see the amount of special teams meetings, the walkthroughs that these guys go through. And it's not easy because offense and defense, each coach has a specific position that they're coaching. Ryan has an assistant, but he's coaching offensive linemen, he's coaching linebackers, he's coaching DBs, he's coaching quarterbacks holding the ball on field goals, he's coaching kickers, he's coaching the whole team, right? So then you have to know each guy's skill set, whether it's good, whether it's bad, for different positions on those phases. So he's done a tremendous job, especially Nick Neiman not being in this year. He's a special teams ace. Yeah. Had probably one of the best camps at the linebacker position when I was there. And then you have your gunners that are down, and they still have guys going in there, stepping up, making plays. So kudos to Ryan and what he's doing with that special teams unit.
Yeah, and just speaking to your specific position, Jahleel, just again, you got no Derwin James, and it just feels like whichever player they drop in, and look, it's not just obviously Jesse Minter, it's the position coaches as well. So you got to tip your cap to Klink and O'Leary and to Elston and to Navarro Bowman, all of these guys, where you lose Derwin James and you got to drop essentially, here's Gilman playing up where Derwin was, and now Elijah Molden is playing back, and AJ's still your third safety. Like, they just did not really miss a beat. Yeah, you have the one touchdown to Xavier Worthy and whatever, but it's still,
it
17
looked good
points.
Still. It looked good still, Money. It looked good. Like you said, and Derwin's the biggest piece on the defense. And what you said, he didn't play, obviously, against one of the best tight ends ever to play the game, one of the most powerful offenses to ever play the game historically, right? And there wasn't a big drop off. And that's not discrediting Derwin at all, because we all know what kind of player he is. It's just more so crediting the defensive staff and their game plan and how they're getting these guys ready week in and week out to go out there and do the job no matter who's out there.
On Location, official hospitality partner of the NFL and the LA Chargers, offering Chargers fans the opportunity to lock in verified Super Bowl tickets and access to exclusive pregame parties with an official VIP ticket package. Take your pick from the best seats at Caesars Superdome, including the most coveted seats at the 50-yard line, and exclusive access from private pregame parties featuring big-name entertainment, chef-inspired food, and top-shelf bar to post-game field celebrations. Incredible experiences are coming in hot. 5-star hospitality. Go first class all the way from the moment you arrive in New Orleans. Enjoy personalized concierge services, excursion planning, reserved parking, a VIP gifting suite, and many more premier perks. Visit onlocationexp.com/SBLIX or call 877-373-5062 to secure your ticket packages today.
Speaking of the job they have to do, I think it's like we're trying to figure out what is Bo Nix, right? Like, you're talking about a guy that had 138, 246, 216, 60, 60. There's a 60 yards passing in there. And then 206 last week, right? He's running the ball okay. He's got 113 yards rushing. He's got a bunch of touchdowns. I think he's got 3. I want to say he's got 3 touchdowns here. I can check right now. He has got 3 rushing touchdowns. How about this? This is the one that jumped out at me. And this is why I brought up that the Chargers defense against and what Jesse Minter has these guys doing. And granted, it's Justin Fields. It's Patrick Mahomes, and you know how effective he can be with his legs rushing. So I'm sure it's coached into them per opponent. But Bo Nix has rushed for 13 first downs this season.
Yeah.
So that to me is a big, that's going to be a big part of this. Is the Chargers play a very disciplined brand. I know I'm throwing a lot of numbers out there. It's
you hit it.
Just put my board together.
For sure.
But like, how about this? Chargers have where'd it go? The Chargers. They are one of the best at making the tackle, the 4th best missed tackle rate. 60% of their initial engagements are tackles, which is 4th in the NFL. Just 10.5% become missed tackles, legitimate missed tackles. So to me, that speaks to don't let him get loose. Do not let him pick up those first downs. And I think you take that away from a rookie quarterback like Bo and you force him to operate in the pocket and work through his progressions with the games that Jesse Minter's able to play. This feels like a turnover game to me for the Chargers defense.
I agree. And we always went into the season, no matter who it was, if it's a rookie quarterback, it's a rookie quarterback, Money. That's what we thought. And that's how we were approaching the game. There's no way we're giving a rookie quarterback that much credit right now. You're going to have to show us that you can beat us. We're going to throw everything at you. And it's going to be a mental gymnastics game for you with pre-snap alignments, post-snap movements, lining up on third down with all guys on the line, just giving them different looks, making them think. Because without a doubt, he's playing good ball for a rookie. But at the end of the day, he's still a rookie quarterback. And as a former player, when we played rookie quarterbacks, we were salivating. Like, it's time to feast. It's time to feast. No matter who it is, no matter who it was, who it is, what record they had, the numbers that they were putting up. At the end of the day, we feel like we're the best defense. We're coming in here to play you in your home. You're a rookie quarterback, and you're going to have to prove to us that you're the rookie quarterback that everyone's talking about, right? And then when you talk about the rate at which the defense is tackling, it's very impressive. And not just because of the numbers that you threw out. These guys only tackle on Sundays, right? Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. They don't tackle. The most they do on maybe a Tuesday is thud. You're never bringing a guy to the ground in the NFL when you're practicing. So for them to not have those reps of tackling and then going out there on Sundays and doing it at a high, efficient rate, like, credit to Jesse and that defense, man. I know we talk about them a lot, but they have done and over exceeded our expectations so far for the defense this season.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, when you go through it, 11 sacks in the last 4 games, 31% pressure rate, opposing quarterbacks, 85.8 rating, just 3 touchdowns to 4 interceptions. 3 touchdowns. They played 4 games. They've allowed 3 passing touchdowns and have picked off quarterbacks 4 times. And this is a big one too, because, and I think this also speaks to how disciplined they are, is and I hope it's not a big number salad for everybody that's listening. I don't mean for it to be, but numbers at times can tell the story.
For sure.
Like, think about rookie quarterbacks, right? And what are your easy completions, and what are you still struggling? Like you said, throw everything at them, disguise, pre-snap, change the look post-snap. So what's the easiest thing for him to do? Dump off to the running back. Not surprising, Javonte Williams, one of the highest targeted players. He might be the highest targeted player in the passing game. I don't know if Cortland Sutton is or he is, but one of the two. But I know he's got a ton of targets.
Right.
The Charger defense holds running backs. When the quarterback is passing to running backs, quarterbacks have a 63.3 rating. Like, to me, that speaks to discipline, to, hey, we're not going to give you the easy look and the easy completion and let that beat us. And so that's kind of been something that Nix has done a lot of. And so if you can take that away, if you can take the quarterback run away, that to me is...
And stretch the ball down the field. And that's when you start feasting.
Right.
So you go into the game plan, you say, what is he doing well? And like you just pointed to, Money, he's throwing the ball, he's checking the ball down. He's getting the ball into his playmaker's hands, the running back's hands, and letting them run. So you got to take that away. However that looks, I don't know right now. We don't know right now. But on Sunday, it's like, not saying that the running back Williams is a game wrecker, but it's like going into a game, and we talked about it with Devontae Adams, right? And you don't come out of the game and you don't say, oh, yeah, we took an L, but we took an L because Devontae beat us. Right. You go into the game plan saying what Bo Nix is doing is making easy completions to his running back. So no matter who it is, he's getting the ball out of his hands quick. So if that's what he's doing at a high rate, we must take that away. And then we can get fancy, get cute on third downs with different looks, different blitzes. And then we force him to throw the ball down the field and then prove to us that you're this rookie quarterback that everyone's saying that you are.
Yeah, it's a bummer that Joey's still not practicing, whether or not he'll be available. I hope he is, because, man, he has beaten Garrett Bowles like a drum in his career.
It's not even close.
No, it is not. Joey's got sacks against Denver on 5 different quarterbacks. 5 different dudes.
It's not close.
Have had to wear it because for whatever, and you know how that is. Sometimes there's just match like, what's the guy's name? The left tackle I said Oakland, in Vegas, the UCLA guy. Darn it, Chris. Anyway, another guy,
Miller?
really good left tackle. Yeah, exactly. Miller, Colton Miller. Another guy who's good left tackle. Yep. Joey beats him like a drum for whatever reason. What he does counters what he's able to do, and same thing with Bowles. So that's why I'm hopeful, but I'll tell you the one thing that I thought came out of that Chiefs game without Joey is how well did Thule play, man? Because you'll look at the box score and you won't see it. They should have given him a half sack for whatever reason. They didn't give it to him statistically, but man, he went next level in that game, specifically with his lane discipline.
Yeah, and I'm a big fan of Thule. I've seen him for 2 years now work his craft each and every day, training camp. And I always says, listen, if Joey wasn't here, Thule would be the starter. And if Thule was on any other 31 other teams in the NFL, he'd be a starter, and he'd be one of the young up-and-coming rising stars in this league because of the way he works, his strength, his power, and he's just a disciplined kid, right? Doesn't talk much, doesn't say much, but when that helmet goes on and those pads strap up, he's a different kind of beast. So, yes, we will miss Joey Bosa. Historically, we know what he's done against the Broncos, but the fact that they have a young guy behind Bosa, learning from Bosa, and who has his own style. He's totally different than Bosa in the way they play. Excuse me. But he has his own style, and he's very efficient at what he does, and he's hungry to make plays. So, yes, we're missing him, but I don't think it'll be much of a drop-off. Tule's going to get after him as well.
Yeah, and let's not obviously forget who's on the other side. I mentioned the 5 quarterbacks of Joey. Khalil Mack has sacked 4 different Denver quarterbacks, and he's got 2.5 on the year. And look, Bud Dupree just got an interception. He's got a couple sacks. Let's not minimize how important that signing was, but it brings me to this as well, Jahleel, and it would love for you to dig in on it because, I think sacks and now because we have it available to us. Pressures, quarterback hits, hurries, they're all paid attention to by fans, I think, more than what, in this particular defense, what is that interior three doing? And I don't think you can we've been underselling what Poona Ford, Tito, and Morgan Fox have been doing. And obviously there's a rotation there, but those are your three starters. What they've been doing up front, specifically against the run, man. This team is shutting down run games, those inside lanes, and that is something we have not seen in years.
Yeah, so they're the anchor of the defense right now, Money, and that's the thing that allows Jesse to be a lot more flexible and play too high with two safeties back. A lot of times, we just spoke about it earlier, a lot of teams are defeating runs by having 8 guys, 9 guys in the box because their interior D-line is not holding up, and they need that extra hat for the run game. But what does that make them susceptible to? The pass, right? Where the Chargers are doing a really good job is they're allowed to play 2 safeties back, and they're allowing Poona, Morgan, Tito, and the guys up front, that front 7, to get after it, and they can, play the pass, and they're playing the run with a light box. So those guys have been very pivotal for the defense. They've been a very key cornerstone for the defense, and I'd expect nothing less on Sunday for them to continue to keep doing what they're doing.
Yeah, I think against the Broncos, you mentioned the 2 highs. The reason why, make them run more plays, make Bo Nix take more snaps, because eventually you're gonna get them, and that's where you just think about that Chiefs game. It was one play. It was one play. They had held them in check for a half until one play got them, and it was It was an 8-second, 54-yard, one play drive. Outside of that, they were able to keep everything in front of them. And so that can't happen because Cortland Sutton has tortured this team. He has absolutely tortured this team. I think about that game where I want to say the Chargers, there might have been 14 seconds left or maybe even less than that. And I don't remember if you were on the team or not, Jahleel, but if you were, I apologize for bringing it up. But it's a 3-point lead with maybe 8 seconds left. And Locke just drops back to pass. And somehow Cortland shakes behind 2 defenders, ends up getting a pass interference. They kick the field goal to tie it, and they win in overtime. And it's just man, Sutton is a problem. And it's understandable. He's big, he's fast, he's got great hands. And that's certainly the one guy. I think we talk about the running back and Javonte Williams and all that. But to me, man, don't let Cortland Sutton beat you because we've seen that movie before, man.
Yeah. And no, Money, I was not on that team.
Good.
So you did not hurt my feelings. I would have took that little perk. No, I'm just messing with you. No, I wasn't on that team. But, yeah, you can't let him beat you. Obviously, he's been in the league for some years now. And Cortland has done a good job against the Chargers, as you mentioned. Big, fast, physical, good hands. And he's the number 1 target. So, like I said, you erase what they do best, and you make other guys beat you. And Jesse is doing a good job, man. And he's doing a good job of taking away their deep threats. He's doing a good job of taking away their biggest threats. And I don't think he'll do anything different than that on Sunday.
All right, let's dig into the offense, Jahleel, as we look forward with this one. And it looks like Joe Alt's going to be back. He was in practice. He was working out with the team. Right. Slater was off to the side doing some work. So we hope he's going to be available. But right now, as it stands, it looks like, okay, maybe no Slater. Looks like Joe's going to be good. How do you attack this defense? What have you seen from them? What's the best way to go at it? Because like I said, they're top 10 in everything. They're top 5 in even more. They very similar to the Chiefs, where you look down and it's like, wow, this guy's got a sack. There's a bunch of guys with at least a sack, so it feels like it's coming from everywhere. We talk about the blitz. So what have you been doing for the last 2 weeks if you're Greg Roman and Coach Harbaugh and trying to get this thing figured out?
Well, I think you self-scout, for one, so you don't even look at the Broncos. You look at what we have done. You look at the last 3-4 games and you say, well, what have we done well and what have we not done well? Because what we're looking at is what the Broncos are looking at, and that's how they're going to come out and play us, right? So if we haven't passed the ball well, why? What's the reason, right? Let's switch it up. Let's do some stacks and bunches. Let's do some quick game. Let's move Ladd to the outside, right? So let's do what we haven't done well. We have to make a change. Now, on the run game has been very good for us, but against Kansas City, why wasn't it not as well for us for that game, right? Because that's what the Broncos are going to do. That's what they're going to look
Right.
at. And then you go to the Broncos. First, you self-scout yourself. Then you go to the Broncos, and you're saying, okay, well, let's look at their explosives. There's a cut-up of explosives. That's what I was doing in training camp. I'm breaking down explosives for this week, that week, right? As a coach, those guys are grinding in the office. What's their explosive looks like? And then it's a copycat league. Let's copy exactly what that team did to hurt them on the explosive, whether it was a run, whether it was a pass. However it looked, let's do it. We may get to it, but we're going to get to it in a different way because there's self-scouting as well as what hurt them.
Right.
So we get to it a different way. If it's a run and it was a 2x2 look and they ran off the tackle and it hit for 30 yards, well, hey, yeah, it's a 3. We're going to show 3x1. Then we're going to motion to 2x2 just to mask it a little bit and then hit them with that same run. If it's a pass and it's a 12-yard dagger with number 2 going up the seam and number 1 running in, yeah, hey, they did it at a 2x2, but maybe instead of 2x2, we start at 2x2, we motion it to 3x1, and we do the same thing. Number 1 runs a deep ball, number 3 runs a through to take the safeties out, and then number 2 runs a deep dig behind. So just different stuff that you've seen help them. I think you have to copy that, but just mask it a little bit differently so that they don't see it as players because they're smart, man. I know.
Right.
I'd see something and I'm like, all right, 2x2, we got hurt here. I know this is what coach talked about this week. I'm going to stay in my zone. I'm not going to fall for this play action. Here it comes, pick, right? So you have to mask it so that when you line up in it, it's something that they haven't seen beat them already.
Yeah, kind of, like I said, I think we already discussed a couple of things that I'm interested to see if they take a shot with. One, Ladd on the outside, just to try to get some speed and to get some of these downfield throws to get this offense to breathe a little bit more. I'm wondering if we're going to start seeing a little bit more between the tackles running. It just felt like anytime they attacked the edges were collapsing without Alt and Slater out there. Right. So a lot of it's going to depend on personnel, but
who's playing.
It felt like they were a little more successful between the tackles than trying to attack the edges. The edges were collapsing. And then the other thing I'd love to see, and look, this is something that they did on the first drive. It was just one play, but we've seen it a couple times now this year, and that's that tight end screen to Dissly. And I know I don't know if they look at it as like, okay, well, that's only going to work once. But, man, I watch the Chiefs. They run that all the time. They are constantly running that Noah Gray. You know, there's a little bit of Kelsey in there, but a lot of times it's that second tight end that's taking those screens, and you got this eye candy over here of, Pacheco or Kareem Hunt. And it's like, no, bang, it's a little tight end screen, and that thing's going for 15 yards. So I'd love to see, because I feel like they're trying to figure out how can we get these tight ends to activate. We've seen it in all these Greg Roman offenses where the tight end is so important, and I feel like they're just sort of scratching it. For sure. And that you know what I mean? Like that needs to take that next. And Dissly has proven he can do it, man. He's catching passes. He's getting yak.
He can do
so I feel like
he can catch.
I feel like that's kind of the next step. How can we get these tight ends activated in the passing game?
I just listen. When you win, no one cares about how it looked. You just want a W, right? And I don't care who receives the ball. I don't care who catches the ball. I don't care what they're schemed up for, particularly who it's schemed up for. Excuse me. But I have to imagine with Herbert's numbers and the way he has not thrown the ball this year that, yes, you lean on the run, but you have to. These last 2 weeks, man, they should be in that office studying themselves, studying the Broncos, and figuring out a way to listen. Herbert has to get those numbers, right? Yes. And it's not for his own personal gain, but it's the morale of the team.
Success.
His success. When he's lighting up the scoreboard, when he's throwing deep balls and deep digs and deep corners, and he's picking teams apart, and then now they're on their heels and they don't know what to do. And now here you come with JK. You're running between the tackles. You're throwing screens. You're doing jet sweeps to Q. You're throwing slot routes to Ladd McConkey. So you have to get the air attack going. You have to. And should they force it a little bit this week? I think so. I think they have to get that pass game going. I mean, some people may disagree with me. The run has been tremendous for us this year, but you have to get 10 going. However that looks, I don't know. But to me, you have to get him going.
Yeah, I know he missed a half, about a quarter and a half of the Steelers game. And I was looking for those watching on video on YouTube. I'm looking off the screen while Jahleel's talking because I'm making sure that the numbers I got on my board are right because I don't believe them. Like Justin Herbert has not passed for 150 yards per game He's at 578 yards through 4 games. That dude's capable of putting that up in a game. That's a possibility. So, yeah, like you've got to figure it out. You cannot be running, and I'm sure I get it. They're trying to run the ball to open it up to make it easier to create this separation on these play action passes because they're running them. They're running motions. They're running play actions. They're getting after it. But like you can't. He's got the touchdowns. He's got 5 touchdowns through 4 games. Would love to see that maybe a little closer to 8, averaging 2 per. That's kind of what Herbert's been doing his whole career for the most part. But to see 578 yards passing,
it hurts.
It hurts when you've got a guy that is that talented and was able to do it his rookie season with the offensive line that he was playing with. You know how much they struggled and how that was kind of like, hey, plug this guy here. And it's Tevy at left tackle because Okun went down. And you got to figure that out. And the interior was super leaky and a little turnstile-y there. And you got guys signed off. Nothing. I'm not going to name names, but you're signing guys off the street and you're plugging them into the star. And Keenan's hurt and Mike's hurt. And he's throwing to Jalen Guyton and he's throwing to T. Billy.
To Jalen.
Yeah. And it's like, hey, he can, and I know the ankle comes into play and moving the pocket and the launch point and all that sort of stuff. But to me, like he has proven that he can do this with a leaky offensive line, that he can do it without his number 1 receivers.
Yes.
And I think you hit it. I feel like that's something that we're going to need to see because that may be the way that you've got to open this thing up, not reverse, not, hey, let's run the ball to open up the pass. Let's pass the ball to get these running lanes open again.
Exactly. That was my point, Money. Right on the head, man. You hit it.
Well, this is an interesting quarter, right? You'd like to end the quarter 3-1 or 4-0. They end at 2-2. This quarter, if I had to guess, they're probably going to be favored in every game. They're favored in the game against the Broncos. Right. They'll likely be favored in the Monday Nighter in Arizona. They'll be favored, I would imagine, against a Saints team at home, and they'll probably be favored against the Browns. But you got 3 games on the road. Not easy to play on the road in the NFL, no matter what the other team's record looks like, especially when you're on the West Coast. Thankfully, they're 2 short trips, Denver and Arizona, mixed with a long one in there in Cleveland. Right. So it's again, from an odds maker standpoint, it looks like an easy second quarter where you should be favored in all 4 games. But when you look at the travel and division game, it's not necessarily an easy one. But I think it's so imperative to avoid 3 straight losses. And on top of that, giving your divisional opponent a win who's now riding this hot streak with a rookie quarterback at 3 straight 100%. Wins. So it's a big one.
It is. And when you look at it, you said it, they're riding this hot streak with the rookie quarterback in this league, being a former player in this league. It's all about confidence. If you're confident and the team's confident and you're confident in your ability and you've had success in the past, then when you walk into the stadium on Sunday, I remember we would feel like, we couldn't be touched. Right. And on the flip side, if your confidence is down, no matter if you're all pro or pro bowler and things are not going well for you individually or your team, you walk in there with some self-doubt. It's just natural. It is what it is. We're human at the end of the day. Right. So like you said, they can't go down with 3 straight losses and they can't take their second division loss, this early in the season. Like this is a pivotal game. Obviously you don't look forward to those next games on the schedule. The most important one is the one in front of them right now. But after they take care of the Broncos, which I think they do, the schedule does line up for them to have a successful run in this second quarter. Obviously, you just don't roll the ball out there on Sundays and think because we're the Los Angeles Chargers, we're these big bad bullies and we're going to win the game. Obviously, there's work to be put in and week out. And like I repeatedly say, each week in each episode, being around those guys, playing with some of those guys, being around that coaching staff for 6 to 8 weeks, I know they're putting the work in. So I'm excited to see the finishing product on Sunday after this bye week.
That's I'll wrap with this. It's funny because there's nothing you can do about. Well, there's nothing anybody can do about it. We're not playing the game, so we're still just watching. But B, like what the injury report says on Wednesday or Thursday or Friday really doesn't matter. No. It matters. It's not going to affect what happens on Sunday. Are the guys ready to go on Sunday or not? But it is something I'll be keeping an eye on because you certainly want to see those guys out there. You're going to be a heck of a lot better at full strength than not at full strength. But the Chiefs are 5-0, man. Yeah. They're 5-0. The easiest way into the postseason is to win your division, and you get a home game potentially out of it. So, well, you do get a home game out of it.
It.
So that's the ultimate goal of the regular season is to win your division,
Right.
punch your ticket into the tournament, and let the chips fall where they may. Falling behind a team that's 5-0 and posting a 2-3 record is going to be a heck of a hole to dig out of.
Right.
This looks like it's lining up pretty darn well for them. They got to play 13 straight. Bye is gone. It is now 13 weeks.
It's come and it's gone.
Yeah, of 13 games. So you want to start stacking wins and get that momentum. And maybe it feels a little bit better when you're wrapped in ice bags on the flight home.
It does. I'll tell you. I'll tell you from experience, Money. It does.
Yes, I was telling when we were on the road, for the full week in Charlotte.
Right.
I said it's funny, and I was talking to one of the coaches, and I said I don't want this to come out the wrong way or it to be a dig. I was like, but I'm here early. I'm one of the first guys in the meal room, and I'm watching everybody walk in. I was like, it's pretty easy to tell who played this week and who didn't.
100%.
On Monday.
If you're not limping, you didn't play.
Exactly right. It's very easy. It is a very easy game to play. Did that guy play? No. Did that guy play? Absolutely. And it's every single one. So you know the toll that it takes on you, and they're going to have to do that 13 consecutive weeks.
Yeah.
And so you're going to want to start stacking wins, or those injuries start to hurt a little more, and the season gets to be a little bit long when it's nowhere near over. So let's hope they do it this week in Denver. Jahleel, appreciate it. And we'll be back again next week, hopefully breaking this thing down and talking about one of the few primetime games this team has, a Monday nighter against the Arizona Cardinals out there in Glendale, and hopefully starting to stack some wins. Let's get it.
Let's get it, Money. Appreciate you, man.
Appreciate you. Thanks, everybody, for listening. Appreciate a review. Comment on YouTube. We love interacting with you. So if you leave something, we like to engage, even if it's a little uncomfortable and we're pushing back and forth with one another. That can be fun. So be sure to do all of that. We certainly appreciate it. If you're just consuming it via podcast or on the video, that's great as well. But if you want to interact, please feel free, because it helps us grow it and keep this thing rolling.